Hi.
What's up? What's up? How are you?
I'm just. Is there Brussels sprout in my teeth? I think it's okay, no? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's good. Like if I can't see it, nobody else can see it, so it's fine.
Exactly. That's all I
Yeah.
need to check. Hi.
Hi, long time. How's it going, man?
Finally. It's been
Yeah,
okay, dude. It's been okay. Managing, surviving. How are you?
much the same. Can't complain. That's becoming like the standard 4 words I say to everyone right now.
I mean, what else can you say, right? No one is like, oh, I'm excellent, actually, living my best life.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the memes that you see, they are my life right now. It's brilliant.
And feeding the stray cat.
Yeah, of course. Not one stray cat. Like at least I think I'm developing an army of my own right now. Like everybody is just taking in some love. No man, during the monsoons and all, it's like really difficult for them to get food, and yeah, I feel pretty bad for them. But so a really
And with
funny thing happened. Today I had to wear jeans for some reason and go down, and they didn't recognize me. They did not recognize me because I wore jeans.
because they only know your legs.
They only know my legs. Like that's how what they see, and they're like, "Oh my god, where are the legs? Why are they blue suddenly?" So yeah, that didn't work out too well.
Oh my God, poor thing. Just imagining the confusion
Yeah,
for
they were
you
really
and them.
confused. They're like the food is the same, but the person I don't know, he's mutated in some way. Like he's
Cats don't
transformed.
have that like dog smell, is it? Like the
They do,
sense of smell can identify someone.
they do. Like no, noise and smell, like all the senses are very, very sharp that way. So
Still, they recognize you.
with the
Okay, I
face
don't know
mask,
much.
I mean, anyone can pass off as anyone, man. So it doesn't matter.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true. Let's not get too far down this rabbit hole
yeah.
because I
Let's
think
pull
I
ourselves
think
back
we'll
down.
just diverge. Okay, so to give everyone a
Hey, so
uh,
someone's saying, Kashmira saying you can't. Can you hear me now, guys? Some people are saying you can't hear me properly. Urvashi, you can hear
I
me
can hear
properly,
you.
right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. So whoever can't hear you needs to check their internet connection.
Okay, so please do that, Kashmira. Hi, guys. It's good to have everyone here. So,
Yeah,
Urvashi, take it away.
I shall,
I'll give you the
I
drum
shall
roll and
take.
everything. Yes, take it away.
So, to give everybody an introduction, Advait and I have known each other for a long time. He is also an actor, fitness junkie, etc., etc. I thought you were a yogi, but I guess you're not.
I'm so far away from being a yogi. I
But
swear,
you
like,
practice yoga, right?
yeah, I do, but I'm not like that's a different thing.
Okay,
Uh,
that being a yogi. Okay,
yeah.
my bad.
It's like I make tea in the morning. That doesn't make me a chef. So yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay,
Sorry if
noted.
I'm busting anyone's bubble right now with this.
No, no, it's a good distinction. I feel like too many people like take on titles that they're not qualified for.
Yeah,
But
that's
anyway,
true.
bringing it back to the introduction. So we have had many conversations about our fitness journeys and our journeys with our body image and like the way we perceive ourselves, the way other people perceive us, etc., etc. So we thought we should do this live for other people to join in on, to, like ask questions. We can talk about our journeys, and hopefully it will resonate with other people also. And somebody somewhere can feel less alone in their journey or feel maybe hopefully motivated to keep going, something like that.
Or to
So the
start
rule
fresh.
for today, I'm making up a rule for today. Any
Okay,
question that's asked, either by you or me, has to be answered by both people.
fine, done, done.
So
In fact, there's
let us.
already a question you missed out. Where Apurva Saxena is asking, which will be, I think he's saying, when will we see Urvashi in movies? So let's just quickly take care of that one, and then
Uh,
we'll proceed with the session.
that you have to contact the producers of my the last two films that I was in, and they will be able to answer because nobody tells actors anything. We don't know. We have
Oh
no
yeah,
idea.
yeah, yeah.
Hopefully, we collect our payment and then we come home, and that's it. After that, it's just
Urvashi
whatever.
ran for a different discussion. Ran for a different
Yes,
discussion right
okay.
now. Yeah,
Bring it back.
let's.
Bring it back. So, Advait, what is your, tell us about your fitness journey to give us an
My
introduction.
Right. So, I've always been, I've never been thinking about fitness as much as I am these days, specifically. Like, I don't come from having played a lot of sports as a kid or, having been a very outdoors kid. In fact, I was literally the opposite of that. I was like a very introverted kid. I was like a lot into books and all kinds of, and, just academics, elocution, all those things that didn't involve me moving, basically. So I was like a Garfield humankind. So the thing is that then I reached a point when I was about 15 or 16, and I noticed that like I wasn't happy with the way I looked. And this was the time when puberty hits you, and you start getting female attention or male attention and stuff. So this is the kind of stuff that at that point in time it starts to affect you. Till then you're a kid and it doesn't really matter. I guess it didn't matter to me that much. So then I started working. I went to a lot of places to find out, because I didn't have a background in sports. I didn't know much about what I was doing. So I thought, okay, let's just go to a gym and figure it out. So from the time I've been 16, 17, 18, I've tried, playing with, I've tried playing sports. I've tried doing, a lot of running, tried working out, tried doing a lot of things. And, because I was always very insecure about the way I looked. And what I've been realizing lately is that I reached a point when I could look at my physique and say, hey, this is a decent place to be at. But then I started realizing, it's not much to do with how I actually looked, so much as how I perceived or how I felt about the way I looked. And that is a journey. I'm realizing that shit, I've come so far in terms of fitness capability and stuff like that. But this is like this, I'm still taking baby steps towards. And that really got me thinking about the relationship that I have with my body and my physique. And then I started talking to other people and figuring it, how it was for them. So yeah, I mean, what was that like for you? Shiv says hi, by the way. Hi, Shiv. It's good to see you, buddy.
Oh, hi, Shiv. Sorry, I'm just like completely ignoring the comments. Because if I get sucked into them, then there's no coming back.
Yeah.
But so my fitness journey was kind of the opposite. I was a very like effortlessly skinny child. Like I was just, bones. And, my aunts used to stress that I'm not eating enough, that kind of like thin child. So I didn't ever pay attention to what I ate. And then I went to college and I started stress eating basically for 4 years. So there's a joke that you'll gain your freshman 15, which is 15 pounds your freshman year. I gained a sophomore 15 and a junior 15 and a senior 15 and just kept going until one day my brother, I didn't really pay attention to the fact that I was gaining weight. I was kind of just like, okay, whatever. I didn't have the time to register that this was happening because there was too much else to deal with. So then in 2013, my brother kind of was like, yo, what's happening? Because he grew up a very chubby child and I was cruel to him. I was so mean to him. And then he actually lost weight in college. So I think that was his moment of redemption, like, the tables have turned.
Tables right here.
Yeah, exactly. So he actually got me started in my apartment gym in the basement, like teaching me the basics of using dumbbells and like how to find workouts online and things like that. So then in 2013 is when I started trying to lose weight and started working out. I don't think I was successful until 2015. And then I finally hit I lost most of the weight in 2015, finally hit my goal weight in 2018. And then in 2018 December, I was asked to gain weight for a film. So I'm like, yeah, of course. I'm Amir Khan. I am Christian Bale. Let's do it. I've lost weight before. I can do it again. So I gained the weight very easily, might I add. Very easily. All it takes is 2 biryanis a day. Yeah. So I gained the weight back. And then 2019 was the year I planned to lose it. But then I had shoulder surgery. And then I just stress ate again because I was just in too much pain. And so now finally in 2020, I'm trying to lose the weight that I gained in 2018. So it's just been like up and down, up and down, up and down. But as you said, like the way that I looked didn't matter as much as how I felt about how I looked.
Yeah, true.
So can you tell me a bit more about the changes that you noticed in yourself when that perception, like how did that perception change for you? What clicked to make you see yourself differently?
I'm still like, I really hope one day I'll have a conclusive answer for this question. But so I've never, honestly, very honestly, I've as much as I claim that I'm, very fit and healthy, I don't think the relationship that I have with my body is yet where I want it to be. And the thing is that, so I when I was a kid, like people were, okay, someone says, oh, you're made Advait, you need to focus more on hammer curls and some tricep rope pull downs. We'll get into that. We'll get into that as well. Yeah. So, but anyway, coming back to a lot of where I was saying, like, kids can be really cruel. And when I was like this fat, chubby kid in school, I was like taking, a lot of heat from people around me and stuff. And that's what kind of made me feel very like I need to do something, It was like, I like to think of where your motivating factors are coming from. Are they internal or are they external? And this was a very external motivating factor for me. I felt like, oh, other people are seeing me in a certain way. I want to be seen in a certain way, and that's why I want to make the change. So that I felt was a very weird cycle to kind of go down towards, because if you base what you're doing on someone else's reaction to you, then you're kind of all over the place. How many people are you going to please? How many people are you going to expect those reactions out of? So that was something I learned, that listen, just stop, just figure out, uh, where you want to go with this journey, what you want from it, and how you can enjoy it the most.
Yeah.
So I mean, otherwise it gets very demotivating. I'm sure it gets really demotivating.
Yeah. I think for me, I was most happy when I was lifting heavy. So when I was actually lifting heavy and really enjoying my workouts, like I was doing powerlifting, basically strong lifts, that's when I just stopped caring about what I looked like, because I felt so good. Like when I could just like pick up that barbell and the whole gym stopped to be like, ladies is lifting weights. That sense of satisfaction that I got from lifting, like just completely it allowed me to take a step back from what I actually looked like, because then I could look at myself in the mirror and say, it doesn't matter what I look like. I know I can, pick up whatever, how many ever kgs worth of deadlift. So for me, that was a big factor. And then when I started having these shoulder injuries, which is why I had surgery, etc., and I couldn't lift, oh my God, it just like sent me down this whirlwind again. Because then I started like not eating as much to overcompensate for not lifting enough. And then I started getting really paranoid about like counting calories and like trying all these different diets. And it is very exhausting, man. It's very exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I realize is that the reason that all of us exercise 99% of the time, and for guys, I know this was true for me, it's because we want to look a certain way, It's because we want to be seen, or have that kind of, draw that kind of reaction from people, I want someone to look at me and be like, hey, dude, this guy is built, or this guy is jacked, or this guy is really shredded. But if we do that, like, there's a whole lot of health benefits, and like you said, you feel good when you're working out. You feel emotionally and physically so well charged when you exert and channelize that energy. So you completely miss out on that joy of the whole process. That is one thing. And the other thing is, when you work out, or when you make certain lifestyle choices to only look a certain way, you will probably tend to make pretty unhealthy ones, because like you said, you're not eating right, you're not. I've gone into like starvation mode and stuff, where my skin, my hair, all kinds of things went for a toss, just because I wanted to hit that ideal weight. I wanted to have those last 2 packs on my abs and everything. It was crazy. Like, I wasn't enjoying that, and it's not sustainable.
It's absolutely not sustainable. But we will come back to this. You made an interesting point about perception, like you want to be perceived a certain way. So can you tell me more about that? Like, how did that change as your physique changed?
So it was actually, I never enjoyed weightlifting all that much, because so the first time I went to the gym, I went as this fat clueless kid. So of course everybody thinks they can give you advice, right? Because they're better built than you. So they're like, बेटा तुम मंडे को chest shoulder triceps करो, और फिर cardio करो Tuesday को, and the usual, the same workout that every guy is told to do in the gym. And I said, this is boring, man. This is not fun. Like, this should be fun. And then I said, is this why people like don't play sports and shit, because it's not fun? But that's not the case, But sorry, I completely got sidetracked by that whole thing. Yeah. But then I was very much into like running long distances, and I still do that. Like, I still run half marathons every now and then, and I'm trying. I don't know if 2021 there's going to be a full marathon. Tata, if you're listening, please make it happen. I want to do it. But anyway, so I've
been running a marathon away from my problems.
Yeah. Best way to run from your problems. There's an interesting mental aspect to that as well. But so I was trying to get only fit in one way. But then I realized that, you know, whether you move, the way we practice yoga, the way we run, the way we try and attack fitness and well-being from all avenues, which is like your strength, your flexibility, your endurance, your power. It's more than like, I mean, yeah, GRATF 145, like it's, yeah, bicep curls and hammer curls are a part of it, but like, dude, there's a whole lot more to it, man. There's a whole lot more, you know, because I see a lot of guys when they're working out or starting to work out, they just go and lift the weights, like they just go and do those bloody bicep curls, which are not going to take you very far, you know, they're really not.
Okay, but bringing it back to my question of how were you perceived as your
completely
okay. That's why I'm here to moderate. So how did that perception change as your physique changed?
Of other people, you mean the way they perceive me?
Or the attention that you got, or the way, like, did you notice changes in how people responded to you or interacted with you?
Yeah, for sure. Like I noticed it first and foremost. Like, okay, when you're going to college, and it's a new college, and you know, everybody's meeting each other for the first time. I People treated me differently. People treated me very differently, and it's also a cyclical thing. Like, you feel like, okay, now I look a certain way. I have more confidence. I want to put myself out there and be more approachable to people. So I guess also you send out those vibes and people treat you a lot better. But definitely the way people look at you changes, because the way you look at yourself also changes. The way you perceive yourself also changes. You think that, okay, you know, as guys we have this sense of achievement at times, that I have to do this, put in the work and achieve this physique. Only then are you worthy of certain amount of attention or doing those things. And it's great as a reward system. You think that, okay, you know, shit, if I run 5K today, I can reward myself with this or whatever. It's good motivating factor at times, but basing your entire journey on that, I don't think it was very sustainable for me, at least. You know, what did you feel like perception played a whole like changed a lot when you transformed, so to speak?
I don't know actually, because I think maybe it has to do with being a girl. Like, I think I had consistent attention throughout, especially because I was in an, engineering college, 70% male
Yeah, you
population.
guys are like an endangered species in India.
Yeah, worked in technology, again in endangered species. So I think I probably had the same amount of attention, but I don't think I really believed it until I started feeling better about myself in terms of like lifting and being more active and being more proud of myself and the way that I was, working out and stuff. It had nothing to do with the actual weight. It was just how I was feeling. So once I started feeling good, I actually believed it. I was like, oh, these compliments are real. They're not just, like, I used to dismiss them before. Like, if someone hit on me or whatever, I would just say like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, good one, good joke.
Okay.
But then later, when I started feeling better, I could accept it and say, like, oh, damn, apparently I'm desirable. This is crazy. So that was like one big shift in, I think, as you said, like the external motivation versus internal motivation, right? Like for me, I was probably in a way very self-absorbed, in the sense that I was so focused on how I perceive myself that I was quite blind to how other people were perceiving me. So until I felt better, I didn't even notice how other people were treating me at all.
Yeah.
But now we will go back to your holistic approach to fitness, right? As you said,
Yeah.
were there any mistakes that you made along the way that led you to this realization? Like I think you mentioned about, starting only with running, but how did you go from recognizing that you needed to, do more than one thing and where you are now?
I think the biggest learning that I've had with my whole thing has been that not there is no one formula for anything. You know, there is. In fact, I was reading this pretty interesting article the other day. They said that people across the world are trying to find now, especially with health and fitness and well-being being such an important topic, and people want to know how they can get fitter and healthier. So people are trying to find one number which is definitive or a measure of good health. So people used to think that it's like a BMI, but that's out the window. If people think that it's your, sometimes it's your heart rate, which can tell you a lot, but very often it doesn't. And people think that it's a measure of your fat-free mass index, so how much muscle you have on your body. But even then, so there's not one number which gives you a definitive thing of where you are on this journey. Just like you look at different athletes, and a sprinter has a very different physique and a very different conditioning from a marathoner. So I realized that okay, there were projects in between that I had to look a certain way on stage. So if you want to do that, you have to train a certain way. You have to have a certain physicality. But then again, that was for that project. I remember having to put on, about 24 kilos of body weight, and then drop about 12 kilos in 27 days because we were launching the show at that time. Yeah, that was ridiculous. It's an entire topic altogether.
We'll come back to that.
Come back to that, yeah. It wasn't healthy the way I did it. But hey, it was a trade-off and a choice that I made at that point in time. But I think that sustainability is the biggest thing, Try and do something that is sustainable, that you see yourself doing, rather than, okay, just, do it for a few months, get back to your weight and things like that. And also thinking about it from all points of view. There's no point going to the gym and being able to bench press like 200 pounds, but you can't go for a walk without getting tired, or you can't, just play a game of football with people. There's no point, What about you? What's that been like for you?
I think for me, fitness started entirely with one single-minded goal of losing fat. Like fat loss was my one and only goal. But I think after maybe a year or two of I tried all these, bodybuilding.com workouts, like those pre-made workouts. I tried a bunch of those and I just thought it was so boring. And then when I finally discovered, or rather it was introduced to me, like powerlifting was introduced to me, which was basically like squat, bench and deadlifts, and then, a few supporting exercises around it. I really enjoyed that. And once I started enjoying what I was doing, my goals changed completely. Like it just completely did not matter what I was, looking like. The fat loss part took a backseat for sure. But then I thought I was doing great. And then I had a moment where I signed up for a contemporary dance class because, as an actor, you have to master movement and all this.
Yeah.
And so I joined and it whipped me, dude. Oh my God, it tore me to pieces. And that's when I realized that was my moment of realization that there are so many different dimensions to strength. Like our trainer, she's tiny, okay? She's like, I don't know, 5'2", and she's like this big. But she is so strong. Like if she wants to launch herself across the room, she can, because she's strong enough to do it. And that's when I realized that there are so many dimensions to fitness. And now, of course, in the lockdown, there's no access to gyms. And as much as I miss lifting and feeling super strong, I've been doing these like HIIT workouts with Ralph Fitness. Shout out to Ralph Fitness. And it again, as you said, taught me so much about movement, because, simple things like burpees or, those jumping lunge things, I couldn't do for a little while.
I hate that. Yeah.
So I used to just do those stationary movements, right? Like squatting, benching, deadlifts. It's all stationary. So when I suddenly had to move, I was like, what is balance? Like, how are people doing this?
Yeah.
So now I think I've gotten to a point where I do want to focus on my ability to move, because it will help me as an actor. And as you said, like it should have direct correlation to your day-to-day life. You should be able to carry groceries or go up the stairs without, feeling like you're going to pass out.
Yeah.
So that was like a thing that I had a very definitive moment where I was like, I might not be doing enough. I hate burpees with a passion. Same Crimson
Pearl. Really struck a nerve with everyone.
Burpees are the worst.
Burpees all the way. I love burpees.
The worst. Yeah. Okay, I want to come back. No, actually, since we're on this topic, you have been conducting workouts on Instagram Live. So tell us about that. When did you become a trainer?
Man, I was like, dude, I'm working out anyway, so I'll just put the camera over there. You guys can join in. Yeah. But so here's the funny thing. Like I think so people go to bodybuilding.com and they think that we're going to do this workout and all of that. But it's, Arnold Schwarzenegger said, and I read this in an interview of his, he said that...
Of course you're quoting Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Of course, man. He's a great guy. So he's like, he said that it's all about the connection that you have in your mind with what you're doing. Because I can go in and have a better workout by doing just one set than the rest of the world who goes in and does a 2 hour workout. So I find that a lot of people, like I go to a gym and I see trainers standing over there, and the people that training are just doing the shittiest form in the world, and they're like, one, two, very good, self-air, three, four, and they're just going on and on like that. And I'm like, guys, what the hell are you doing, man? You're going to kill your back. So this the kind of stuff that I do is just totally body weight training, which I hugely believe in. Like, there's no point touching another weight if you can't master your own body weight, because that's what you're living with, right? So those are the kind of workouts that I do, and it's always high intensity. It's always like you end up with a pool of sweat. So actually, what I do is I have to keep shifting a little bit from here to there, because I leave behind quite a bit of me on the floor when I do that. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. I've actually not done it for a while because I've been caught up with procrastination, but I will definitely get back to it. And yeah,
But
burpees are a big part of it. Crimson Pearls. If you tune in, I'm sorry, man. It's going to hurt. Yeah.
actually, I think I heard it first from you, actually, that you said there's no point lifting weights if you can't do a push-up. And that actually stayed, like, that was like a seed that you planted in my mind that stayed with me for a really long time. I think that might have been one of the things that pushed me to do that dance class, because I was like, it was just haunting me, that sentence that, like, I can't actually do a push-up, dude. Like, what am I doing bench pressing? So thank you for that. Thank you for planting that seed. It has changed a lot. I can now do 10 knee push-ups. I can do 3 real push-ups and 10 knee push-ups. So thank you for that. And follow-up question to this training thing.
Yeah.
Has training others taught you anything about fitness versus training yourself?
Oof. I have a really bad. I have a really. I don't know. I'm very moody when it comes to my workout. Like, I feel like GRAT F145 saying, why is it bad drinking away? It's not even summer, dude. I just worked out like half an hour ago, so I'm still like rehydrating right now.
Why are you hating on hydration, bro?
Hydration, bro. Who's water, man?
Yeah.
So, I'm pretty moody when it comes to working out. But like, if you're training other people, like I've had a lot of friends who have approached me to come up with a kind of a workout program for them around their lifestyle, around things like that. In a way, I feel like a lot of the time it's actually pushed me to see someone who is, say, working for 10, 11 hours a day, still want to put in, and say that, hey, like, I recognize now, that I need to put in, say, half an hour for my body. So I only have this much time, but tell me what I can do, how can I make the most of it? So it's very inspiring every time someone does that. But also I keep getting reminded about how I have very unstructured workouts. Like, I literally go to the gym and I'm like, okay, what am I feeling like doing today? What do I feel like I need to push? Where is my weak point like? And I'll go ahead and attack it. But having some kind of a routine is really important. And when I see people follow it, it's actually just inspiring for me. But yeah, I guess that's one of the biggest things. And also seeing the mistakes, I see the mistakes people make, knowing that I myself have made those mistakes. And I'm able to just pretty much help them better. But the funny thing is, I've actually had a lot of people talk to me about, hey, how do you diet? How do you work out? How do you train? I've never, in all my years that, I've been a proponent of fitness and well-being and stuff, I've never had anyone talk to me and ask me a question of, hey, how do I feel better about the way I look? How do I have, a better relationship with my body? That is something I wish that people would have asked me. That's a question that I also have,
Yeah, I think, it's the same. I think that happened to both of us also while we were starting our journeys. It started off wanting to achieve something, and then that entire perception changed along the way. So I think that's really accurate. I just want to make another point about, training. I think there's too many people out there who don't realize that there is a difference between being a fit person and being a trainer.
Yeah.
Like, knowing what works for you and designing something for someone else are two different skills. And as you said about these, these trainers in gyms, just standing there and watching people work out with bad form, people just randomly giving gyan about what exercises you should do and what you shouldn't do. Oh my God, as a woman, I get so much more of that. Like I was once told that I should not do lat pull downs because those are for men. I was
Oh, I
like,
see.
oh, I didn't realize that women just don't have backs. How stupid of me. I should have known. Anyway, that's a whole other rant.
Yeah.
But speaking of like bad decisions in terms of fitness, tell us about this whatever 14 kgs, 12 kgs, what happened when you were prepping for that show?
Oh, okay. So I mean, there's a when we gain and lose weight, to get in shape, like there's this process that we often follow called bulking and cutting, which works very well for some people. But then I realized it doesn't work for me. But so what you do is basically you eat a surplus of calories and macronutrients when you're bulking, and you cut down by cutting out your carbohydrates, losing a bit of that muscle that you put on, but mostly as much fat as you can to look as lean as you can. So I reached a point where I was, like most people, very good at bulking, and at that point in time, we were not sure of when we're going to launch the show, but since we had to be ready for in a month, I was told that okay, just it's time to drop weight and it's time to drop weight. So let's see how far we can go. And I pushed it a lot. Like there was probably no need for me to do that extensive a cut. But it was crazy. Like I'd work out, I'd do a 45-minute high intensity workout in the morning. I'd go for 3 hours of dance. There'd be aerial training for 2 hours post that. Then there'd be sword fighting, and then there'd be a weight training workout. So I was burnt out at the end of it. Like my nervous system was like, just chill out. So of course, if I were to do it again, I would do it much more sustainably and stuff. Because at the end of that month, I was at the correct weight that I wanted to be at, but I was burnt out. It wasn't fun at all.
Oh my God. How you did that for a month, I don't know. Because, yeah, like 3 days of that, and I would be like, I give up, I quit, bye.
There was a lot of throwing up involved, I'll tell you that. Like a lot of throwing up
Oh my
involved.
God, oh no.
But
But,
there's an interesting question that's actually over here that Shrikant KV has asked, and he's asking about how fitness is related to appearance. So let's come back to that. But sorry, you were saying, yeah.
yeah, we will pin that for later. We'll come back. I think I can pin. Can I pin
Can
this?
you? Yeah, because we have a few questions
Yeah,
which have been coming in
yeah,
from people.
pin comment. Great. We'll come back to this.
Cool. Yeah.
Also, my mother is in here accidentally typing laughter emojis. Hi, mommy.
Hi,
She's in the
Auntie.
other room. So coming back, I've heard from competitive bodybuilders that you have to okay, this is a huge myth that I want to bust, okay, because I think there's this expectation, probably more so with men than with women, that
Yeah.
once you get shredded, you're shredded 24/7, 365.
Oh.
But from what I've heard, before your shooting or before your competition or your show or whatever it might be, that you have to go through some insane dehydration, no eating salt. Like, okay, you've done some shoots, you've done some shows, you've done some crazy 1 month workout. What exactly are people doing just before they look super shredded on screen?
So when you look at any fitness magazine, and you look at any say poster or say Men's Health or something like that, so those guys, and even when you're on a movie shoot, what happens is you plan we plan the shirtless scenes and stuff like that. So what happens is that when the reality of it is, you see that which is immortalized in a picture or in a scene and stuff, and the model looked very close to that, of course, with good lighting and everything, but only for a period of literally less than 24 hours. Of course, you can't achieve that level of, as they call it, conditioning without, in any case, being fitter or having a very lean muscular frame. But that level, the last 20% is achieved in the last literally 3 days. So what happens is that basically the idea is you deplete your body of water, because water gives you a fuller appearance. It's like you look like I shouldn't say a balloon, but you tend to look less cut.
Yeah.
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 So you deplete yourself of water, and to do that, you deplete yourself of salt for the last 3 or 4 days. So that really messes with your mind, because the lack of sodium in your body starts, making you jittery. You can't concentrate. Like you have trouble tying your shoelaces and shit like that. Then you deprive yourself of carbohydrates for that time as well, because carbohydrates hold water too. And then the last 2 days that you have, this depends, on everybody's body is different. So last 2 days that you have, you slam in as many carbohydrates as your body can handle and take in. So what it does is your muscles are depleted of the glycogen, and they suck in all the glycogen from the carbohydrates, and with the carbohydrates they suck in the water from your skin, basically the adipose tissue that you have just below your skin. That the water from it basically gets sucked into the muscle, so the muscles look full, the skin looks thin, and you look shredded as hell, but you really have no idea what's going on because of this sodium deficiency and shit, and you're
Oh my
dangerously
God.
dehydrated. Yeah, yeah. It is really
So
not recommended to do this more than about twice a year. Twice a year, thrice a year at the most.
So is that why models are so spaced out on shoots? They're just like there because they haven't had salt in 3 days.
Possibly, but yeah, I don't know.
Also,
And
generally,
this
they
is of course,
are not.
not taking into account the stuff like people take like diuretics and other substances to basically deplete all the water from the body that they can. That's like a different ballgame altogether. They're pretty dangerous water pills, as they're called. We just pop it without thinking about it, but yeah, it makes you.
So, ladies and gents, this is the public service announcement. If you see a picture of a shredded person somewhere, okay, I don't know what CNS is. Do you know what CNS is?
Central nervous system, probably.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, this just sounds exhausting. So, public service announcement. If you see someone shredded in some photo, in some video somewhere, and you look in the mirror and you're like, why don't I look like that? That's because you're a normal human being that's consuming a normal diet, and you have to do so much to look like that shredded image. I think that's really important to put out there, because I was talking to somebody else who's a competitive bodybuilder, and he was saying that, like when he gets cast for ads and stuff of a modeling assignment, the people casting him are expecting him to look that like how he looks in those photos year round, and he's like, that's impossible. So it just sounds very exhausting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I that's absolutely true, and I don't want to take away from the hard work that these guys do, because they take like their career, their livelihood depends on it. So they take those decisions. It's the way normal people like you and me probably think, hey, I'm just gonna have a cupcake, big deal. Like that possibility itself is not there for these guys, because their body is their money shot basically. So they put in a lot of hard work and a lot of effort, and there's the effort of the whole team that's going into the shoot. But that last thing, I think that it's essential to know, like you said, that it's not reasonable to expect that from yourself or from those guys even.
Yeah, but I mean, in a way, as actors, our bodies are also our tools when it comes to our craft. So how has being an actor impacted your fitness decisions, your perception of yourself, etc.?
Oh, well, for a person who has any kind of, body image issues to start with, this is probably the worst field, man. Like, as fun as it is, because you're literally like this, like you said, like this is your business card. This is what you put out there to the world. And you have to you have to use it as an instrument. So you have to take care of it. You have to love it. You have to nurture it. You have to be proud of it and be willing to showcase it. And I don't mean, just taking your shirt off and stuff. I mean, like, really showcase your movement, the way you stand, all of those things. And you have to learn to make the best of it, best use of it. So, yeah, it's been hard. Like, for example, when I was doing this show in this musical in Dubai, where I was just expected to pack on as much muscle as I could, it was a constant question. Like, as we were gearing up towards the launch, I used to look at myself every day in the mirror, wondering, am I good enough? Am I cut enough? Am I fit enough? I did never once ask myself, hey, do I like myself enough right now? Which was pretty sad. I mean, yeah, there is a lot of expectation, a lot of expectation on the way you look. And there are certain standards which have been set by people, which, like you said, necessarily they don't look like that year round. So it's a very delicate balance. But that doesn't mean, I feel like in a way I'm pretty happy about the pressure also that I have, because I look at other people my age and I don't think that I would have maybe wanted to take care of my body so much if I wasn't in this field. You know, I wish
Yeah.
that other people across the board would do that.
Yeah. I agree with that last point for sure. I think the work pressure is something that keeps me motivated beyond just my own want to look better or feel better. But as you said, it's really hard. Like I've had people tell me to my face, like, if you want to be serious in this industry, you have to lose 10 kgs, 15 kgs. You know, I've had people sign me up for plus size ads without asking me. And it's very unfair also to plus size people that the models that are being cast for plus size clothing aren't actually plus size. So then, you know, if we created the plus size movement to make people feel more included and you're continuing to cast non plus size models in that, like to advertise to them, then like, are you really solving the problem?
Exactly.
So that,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, my whole thing with the industry and weight is like a whole other 60-minute
Yeah, I
TED
mean, you
talk.
know, that's
Yeah.
very pertinent because we a lot of our fitness ideals, and again adding to the question that was here of Shrikant's question, how is fitness related to appearance? We have this perception of fitness that has been propagated by what we see in the media. By, you know, we think like it's classic. I was looking for a vitamin for myself the other day, multivitamin, and I went on Amazon and I saw like these bunch of weird obscure brands that I've never heard of just had a picture. It was a standard formula. It's like men's multivitamin, guy standing like this with a six pack and everything, and a picture of like broccoli and some fruit kept over there. And I'm supposed to think, wow, this is good health. This is awesome. This is what I need right now. You know,
Broccoli, abs, and watermelon.
broccoli, abs, and like an orange or whatever for good luck. Yeah, yeah. Like that's all that it is.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's pretty sad. I mean, and the other thing is that why should when you talk about a normal physique, what people have, like people don't have abs like year round most of the time. There is of course a genetically gifted part of the population and stuff, but on the whole, why should someone look at this and feel like, shit, do I have to buy plus size clothing now? I'm the same size as this guy. I'm the same size as this girl. So am I not fit? Like, do I have to look a certain way to maybe you know, is this product going to help me do that? So there's
Also,
a whole lot of, yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
no, finish.
No, there's a whole lot of marketing spiel, as I call it, that goes into this whole thing. So
Yeah, that
yeah.
industry is a beast unto itself. We'll go to questions now. I just want to wrap
Yeah.
up that final thought. Is you know, there are also people who fit the description, pun intended, fit the description of being fit because they are lean and because they're skinny. But there is this idea of skinny fat, you know, where you can be rail thin, but you can't go up a flight of stairs without losing your breath. Or on the other end of the spectrum, you can be what is considered plus size and be very active. Like you could hit the gym every day, like you could be a dancer, you could be a yogi, whatever it is, and you just might not fit the image, as you said, the marketing image of broccoli, watermelon, abs. Like that's not the only definition. So now we will come to questions because we have 15 minutes left. So do you want to start with this one, Shrikant? How is fitness
How is
related to
fitness?
appearance?
Yeah. So yeah, so one thing that I'll tell you is that whatever size, I mean, fit people tend to look a certain way, and by a certain way I mean that they tend not to be overweight and they tend to be in full control of their physique, whether they want to move for long distances or they want to push a certain amount of weight. You probably see them, you know, look not overweight generally. Okay, that's not to say that, you know, if you look at most strongman competitors and, you know, you have these powerlifting meets, these guys are huge. So
Yeah.
it depends on your definition of fitness, I would say. You know, what
Yeah.
is fitness to you? What matters to you? Do you like playing a certain sport? Then the way you play that sport is going to influence your physique. But I think the
Yeah.
point is that you keep moving and keep active. That is the common denominator across fitness in all these things. So if you look at even these guys who are huge, they'll be very, you know, they won't be lethargic. They won't be dragged down. Their energy will be constantly very high. That is, I guess, a very good measure of fitness, your energy
Yeah.
level.
I think for me, the correlation between fitness and appearance, like I always went into it focused on the appearance, and fitness was the means to an end.
Yeah.
But now I'm realizing, having done it for so many years, that fitness is not the means to an end. Like the appearance is just a side benefit that happens, but fitness
Yeah.
itself, like living a fit lifestyle is going to change your perception of what is even attractive. Like it, what you think you want and what you actually end up wanting as you go
So
through it
true.
will change depending on your discipline, depending on what you're trying to achieve, as you said.
Hmm.
So that was fun. There's a comment here,
And
even for plus
so I
size.
just want to add one thing that that it's like if you find those things in yourself, like if you find that feeling of positivity that you get after running a long distance, you tend to appreciate that in other people as well. So it's a major resonating thing. That's why I feel very good running like a half marathon and shit, because there are everybody around you is feeling that same thing. You know, it's a collective kind of feeling. So yeah, that is going to take you and sustain you further than this post workout pump that you check yourself out in the mirror, which is
Yeah,
also
I think
awesome.
it's the same thing for me
Yeah.
with my group, the group workout that I'm doing. Shout out Real Fitness. That's been the major motivating factor for me because when you're doing it on your own, you're just like, oh, this feels like a punishment. But when you're doing it with other people, it's like, okay, we're all in this together. We all have a common goal. We're all doing the same number of burpees to, to get where we want to get.
Crimson
So
Pearls, I think, favorite.
yeah.
Yeah.
For plus size, the standard is Ashley Graham, who's naturally blessed with the right balance of curves and leanness. Yes, exactly. Even plus size models always have an hourglass figure and they always have a flat stomach, but I don't think the majority of plus size people actually look like that. So that's a whole other thing.
That's true.
Um,
That's unrealistic standards, but just in a different way.
you
That's so
created
true.
this whole other category and perpetuated the same problem in that other category. So it's very frustrating.
Hmm. I'd like to
Okay.
actually pull up a question right
Yeah.
now. Think McFly says, adding to the appearance question, if someone is only manages to sleep 4 to 5 hours a day, is there a way around to not slow up the fitness process because of that? McFly, I think. Sorry, I just did that. Think McFly thing. McFly, I think that you just listen to your body. You can. I think 4 to 5 hours. A lot of the time, I understand that I also tend to only get that much of sleep. But if you slowly start pushing yourself, then you will be able to get the most out of those 4 or 5 hours of sleep because your body will be attuned to that. So the human body adjusts. Yeah, of course, if you can manage to sleep more, please do so. But even if you can't, you can tune your body to get the most out of that sleep. Like that should not stop you at all. Just make sure that when you're doing it, you're pushing yourself gradually rather than just going for the kill from day one itself.
Yeah. Thank you for answering that because I had no idea how to do it. Does working out help with depression and sadness? So, exercise is one of the big focus areas for me in terms of depression management because the endorphins after you work out always help you feel good. The consistency of like making sure that you get up at a certain time and do this certain activity, just choosing to focus on yourself for that small amount of time every day. It's like it's not so much the actual workout as it is the discipline of like making sure that you do it a certain number of times a week because with depression it becomes very easy to just like lie in bed and never get up. Like you can just go through days without getting out of bed and like you don't feel like doing anything. But if you can force yourself to like go for a walk, it will change so much. So like I think my mom, I don't know if she's still on this call, but she is so sweet about that. Like when I'm going through like a rough patch of like 5 or 6 days continuously where I haven't moved, she's just come and like slowly be like, why don't you go for a walk, baby? Go for a walk. And then like slowly one day I will go for a walk and it changes everything. So for me, it is a big thing that helps me break out of that quicksand of depression, which is just
Yeah.
like sucking. What
No, I
about you? How does
definitely
it?
recognize that. I mean, as someone who myself have dealt with a fair share of it over the years, depression as well as I would like to even add to it a certain amount of the. I suffer from, I won't say suffer from, but I deal with mild ADHD at a very small level, but I've been dealing with it from the time I was a kid. So I find that the it's almost meditative if you can establish that connection with your act. If you know that, okay, right now I just have to run in a straight line and I just have to keep doing this for as long as I can, then slowly all the other thoughts kind of disappear. And even at a very physiological level, there are hormones like serotonin and noradrenaline which are released when you do physical activity and are triggered by your physical activity and are able to be received better by your body if you move and your blood flow increases. There are a whole lot of health benefits as well as, you know, well-being benefits to it. So I definitely think it does. Like, it's like you said, you know, if you have someone who just eggs you on a little bit to make that first step, then you can you can really go to it. And I almost use it like a drug. I'll be very honest with you, I'm quite addicted to it, you know. Which, I mean, yeah, I probably not the best thing, but it's in its own way. But I feel like in terms of addictions, yeah, it's a pretty good addiction to have.
I was just gonna say it's one of the better addictions that you can have for sure.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, I like what you said about the mindfulness aspect, which is, you know, you just have to do this one thing, like focus on
Mhm.
this one thing. That's the same thing that meditation is trying to make you do, right? It just
Yeah,
focus on your breath. So when you're working out, when you're running, you have to focus only on your breath, you know? And I think, as you said, it just lets all of the other thoughts just melt away.
true, very true. Hey, Rishabh has a question. He's saying,
Yeah.
do you think a fit body is a true status symbol that you earn by sheer hard work and mental strength? I mean, it's a sign of it, yeah. I would think so. That look, if you look at anyone who's fit, you know, people who, um, even a lot of people who, you know, take supplements, and people even criticize those who choose to take steroids and stuff. Look, if you have a fit body, I don't care how you've done it, you've put in a lot of hard work, one way or the other. So you may not agree with or respect the choices that they've made, but there is that amount of respect that I have for anyone who's put in that kind of effort into
Yeah.
anything for that matter, you know, not just their body. So a fit body is a true state. I don't think it's a status symbol, man. I really don't. I think it's something you can own, be happy with, be proud of. But when you say status symbol, it's like, okay, it's compared to others that you're talking about it, which I feel is not a healthy way to look at it. So that way, no, I don't think so.
So
What
pure and
about you?
wholesome. What I was going to say was that I think more than status symbol, as you said, it's a reflection of your habits. Like,
Yeah.
to me, when I see a fit person, I can make a lot of assumptions that they're disciplined, that they're hardworking, that they're able to see the long-term benefits of a certain, you know, lifestyle. That if they want to prioritize their own health. So for me, it allows me to extrapolate other things about a person, things that I admire, things that I want for myself. So for me, it's an indicator that someone has a similar lifestyle or an aspirational lifestyle for me. But I don't think, as you said, I don't think status symbol is something that can be called out, because at the end of the day, in terms of appearance, at least, it's subjective, right? Like, some people want shredded bodies, some people appreciate, you know, less shredded, kind of leaner bodies. So it's, if you're looking for a fit body just to get attention, I mean, you can be the shiniest apple in the world, but someone might want an orange, you know, like, you can't do
Yeah,
much about it.
true. There's an
Okay.
interesting question here. Whatever says, I've wasted so much money on fitness fads. Which of your fitness investments was most worth it for you? How about you take this one first?
Uh, I think for me, that's an interesting question. I think for me, trying new things in terms of investment, like paying for the gym was one avenue, paying for a dance class was a different avenue, paying to work out with a group online is a different avenue. So for me, in terms of the money that I've put into it, I think diversifying my workouts and diversifying the ways in which I progressed was the best investment, rather than putting all the money into like one thing, like, oh, protein powder is going to save the day, like that's it. For me,
This
it
is
was
the one solution that you need.
that's the one
Get the
thing,
body
like
that you want.
broccoli, abs, watermelon. Yeah. Like, so for me, I think I chose to spend money on different um, systems, support systems, if you will, in order to enhance my fitness. So for me, that was the best investment. What about you?
My earphones. Because it doesn't matter if I'm strength training, if I'm running long distances, if I'm powerlifting, or if I'm just stretching out, doing a Surya Namaskar, like my earphones are on, and it's like the sign of my earphones on me is a sign that I'm moving, and that
Yeah,
is the best sign. Absolutely, you don't need
that's so
anything.
interesting.
You don't need
Yeah,
anything else. I mean, yeah, water is good, clearly, but yeah,
yeah.
apart from that, you don't need anything else. But there's an
Damn, I think,
interesting. Tell me,
yeah.
tell me.
No, no, I think for me, people make a big difference. Like, I
Mm,
used to be very, like, you know, I want to work out by myself. I don't want to interact with people because I realized that the people who were interacting with me were pissing me off by giving me. And so I
Unwarranted advice, yeah.
yeah. So I thought that I did not like that human interaction in terms of fitness. But with the dance classes and with this online Zoom workout, people have made the biggest difference to me in terms of like they are my headphones. Like if I know there's one other person who's doing what I'm doing, if there's 5 other people, 10 other people, and we're all sweating it out together, and we can see we like watching someone else grow, like fail and then fail and then fail and then get it right makes me feel a lot better that I'm not the only one who's failing 5 times before succeeding. But when you're doing it alone, you lose sight of where everybody else is, and you start to
That's
feel
so
like, at least
true.
for me, yeah, I start to
That's a
feel
very
like, oh,
good point. That's a very good point of like competition helping and bringing out the best of people rather than the edgy, the aggressive part of competition. That's like
yeah,
a good way of looking at it.
yeah. Like even recently, we were on this Zoom call for the workout. I don't know if he's still here, Ankit, but he's from that class. And so people were finishing, and he's like one of the fitter people in our class. So people were finishing, and our coach was like, okay, now everybody has to hit 12 rounds. I said, if we are hitting 12 rounds, Ankit is hitting 15. This is some bullshit. So Ankit was like, fine, I'll do 15 if you manage to do 12 instead of doing 10. And that's all I needed. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
Just one like Faltu challenge, just to
Yeah, yeah.
poke my ego enough to be like, bitch, bring it on. I'll do 12.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a question here which come up before also of Rafika. Hi, it's good to see you, Rafika. Have your respective diets changed over time, and if so, how did they change? Thank you. Take it away.
Yeah. I tried everything. I've tried everything. I've tried keto. I've tried paleo. I've tried vegetarian. I've tried there was another one, man. I don't remember now. Like I've just tried everything. And it finally came down to just cutting out processed foods. Like I've calorie counted everything, whatever. I've worked with a trainer. I followed a nutrition plan, done everything. But for me, I think we mentioned this earlier at some point, that sustainability is key. You have to want to keep doing it. And so for me, the simplest way to do it was to just cut out processed foods and alcohol. Like RIP beer. I love beer, but it was the single biggest like hurdle in my way of cutting out calories. So one rule that I heard that I try to follow is don't drink your calories. So no like juices and
juices.
so none of that. And then no processed food basically. If it comes in a packet like a biscuit or a chip or whatever it might be, even if it's marketed as like whole grain crackers, like just you don't need the whole grain crackers.
Yeah.
You just need some regular quinoa, man. Like so anything that's not super processed, so no white rice, maida, processed sugar, etc. So that was like the easiest way for me to cut stuff out.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I've actually so I've eaten. I used to eat a lot of meat. I've eaten like I've tried the paleo diet as well. I've tried like the keto diet and stuff. And the only thing like I gave up eating meat about 3 years ago. And every time someone says, "Hey, dude, how you gonna get your protein? How you gonna get this? How you gonna get that?" I'm just like, nah, bro. Like, I'm pretty good that way. I don't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
literal hard flex. Literal flex.
but yeah. So I think I've kept it really simple. I asked a simple question that hey, would this have been available to my grandfather to eat? If yes, I can eat it. If it came out of a packet, it's out. It doesn't even matter. And no sugar. Absolutely no sugar. That is the one thing. Actually, that's the first bit of advice that I would give anyone who's trying to do anything. Just cut all white sugar out of your diet. Absolutely.
And alcohol. Because mixers have sugar.
This is a little different. Yeah, okay, fine. The mixers. Yeah. The mixers for
okay,
sure.
so we are actually almost out of time. And before that 30-second countdown kicks in, I just want to like wrap this up. In whatever 45 seconds we have. Sorry, I cut you off kind of at the end. We'll have the alcohol discussion. 30 seconds has started. So thank you, Ajit. Looks like there are some good, there's some good feedback in here. I will post this to my feed so you can save it, share it, send it to people, whatever you need to. Thank you for joining me. I feel like we should do a few more episodes of this because there's so much that we didn't get into.
Yeah. We've only like just scratched the surface, but thank you. And I'll be in touch.
We'll do another one.
Thank you.
Good night.